Okay,
Yeah.
so good
Mm.
morning.
Morning, Mr. King.
All right, so today is the reading session, Eat to
Mm.
Beat Disease.
Diseases that matter, where the microbiome is disturbed. Disturbances of the microbiome or dysbiosis are now being discovered in serious health conditions ranging from obesity to metabolic syndromes to type 2 diabetes and more. These conditions have abnormalities and damage to gut bacteria that are associated with unhealthy eating patterns, as well as environmental factors and antibiotic use. In inflammatory bowel diseases such as Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, researchers are finding pro-inflammatory bacteria dominating the colon. These bacteria strip away the protective mucus layer in the intestines, making the gut lining more vulnerable to inflammation and toxins. Food allergies are now linked to dysbiosis. Children with less diversity in their microbiomes are more likely to develop long-term food allergies. The microbiomes of children who suffer from food allergies is different than that of their siblings who don't have food allergies.
Cancer, especially in the organs in the gastrointestinal tract, esophagus, stomach, pancreas, gallbladder, colon, and rectum, is associated with microbiome disturbances. When beneficial bacteria are absent, the immune system's ability to detect and fight cancer cells is disarmed. The wrong bacteria residents interfere with the body's ability to defend itself. Bacteria influence our body's ability to manage blood cholesterol. Dysbiosis is also associated with atherosclerosis and cardiovascular disease. When the bacteria in your mouth, the oral microbiome are disturbed, hypertension and heart disease can result. An overabundance of certain bacteria can cause your body to produce higher levels of a toxic substance called trimethylamine N oxide (TMAO). When red meat is consumed, TMAO damages the lining of blood vessels and makes it easier for dangerous atherosclerotic plaques to form inside your arteries, which we know, which we know can lead to fatal heart attack and stroke.
Disruptions of the gut microbiome are also observed in people with Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease. There is emerging evidence that harmful bacteria growing in the gut can produce neurotoxins that provoke brain inflammation. Altered microbiome is seen in major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, and even schizophrenia. People suffering from asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD) have different bacterial profiles in their sputums compared to those without lung cancer.
Dysbiosis in the gut also generates abnormal proteins that trigger the body to produce antibodies that cause autoimmune diseases. Reduction of healthy bacteria is observed in multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, celiac disease, and inflammatory bowel diseases. All of these conditions are associated with abnormalities in the microbiome. It is very likely that many of the most serious diseases of our time share an author microbiome called a common denominator, and conversely, the right constellation of beneficial bacteria is a requisite feature of good health.
The good news is we know that eating certain foods can help shape the bacterial population of our microbiome health defense systems, increasing good and reducing bad bacteria. Foods containing healthy bacteria. One way to help our microbiome is to actually eat bacteria. Many foods contain healthy bacteria that are used to ferment foods and keeps them from spoiling. It's not as gross as it might sound. Preserving foods with edible, healthy bacteria date back to ancient societies in Greece, Rome, China, and India. Even today, life culture of bacteria are central to making many common foods. Eating fermented foods can increase the diversity of gut microbiomes, which improves your health defenses. Here are just a few of the foods that are made with bacteria and their health benefits.
Sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is a slightly sour, tangy, tangy, savory accom- accompaniment to many a traditional meal, and it is sometimes used as a condiment similar to relish. It is incredibly micro-rich, made by fermenting very thinly sliced cabbage with lactic acid producing bacteria, lactobacillus. A single 1 cup serving of sauerkraut can have up to 5 trillion bacteria. Sauerkraut actually originated in China, and through trade routes, early merchants brought it to both Eastern and Western Europe. Europe, when it became incorporated into Slavic and German cuisine. The shredded cabbage is salted, and airborne lactobacilli in the environment are allowed to settle on and grow in the mix. Many different types of bacteria initially colonize and contribute to fermenting the sauerkraut. As the mash becomes more sour over time, the change in acidity alters the makeup of the bacterial populations until it stabilize at the point of sauerkraut maturity.
A substantial body of research has been conducted on sauerkraut and health. Scientists from North Carolina State University profiled changes in the bacterial populations of sauerkraut during fermentations. They found while many different bacteria are initially present, the bacteria that eventually dominates is Lactobacillus plantarum. This important gut microbe is often found in commercial probiotics. L. plantarum has been associated with a number of health-promoting actions, including stimulating an anti-inflammatory response by intestinal stem cells.
The bacterial fermentation of shredded cabbage also releases new bioactive compounds. As one example, fermentation releases glucosinolates from the plant. Bacterial enzymes then break these down into smaller fragments called isothiocyanate. These last products have anti-angiogenic properties, and they can kill cancer cells directly. Remarkably, food scientists from the Natural Resources Institute of Finland found that levels of isothiocyanate are actually higher in sauerkraut than in raw cabbage.
In addition to the probiotic bacteria and the bioactive generator, sauerkraut is also a good source of dietary fiber, which feeds the microbiome. Kimchi. Anyone who has enjoyed Korean cuisines has probably eaten kimchi, a tasty, spicy staple of salted and fermented vegetables such as cabbage, radishes, scallions, chili peppers, garlic, ginger, and the fermented seafood products called gyotao. The name kimchi comes from the Korean words kimchi, which literally means submerged vegetable. The traditional way to make kimchi is prepare the vegetables in a ceramic pot and bury it in the ground to ferment. More than 160 varieties of kimchi exist, generally served as a side dish to accompany meals. You can find kimchi on every Korean restaurant's menu and on the shelves of Asian grocery stores.
Kimchi is, in essence, a probiotic. Like yogurt, it delivers a lot of healthy bacteria and bioactives to your gut. Many of the bacteria involved with fermenting the kimchi are the same ones found in a healthy human microbiome. Bacteroidetes, Firmicutes, Lactobacillus, among others. Scientists from the World Institute of Kimchi in Korea have even discovered a new species of bacteria named Lantibacillus kimchi that produces vitamin K2 or menaquinone. Recall from chapter 6 that vitamin K2 is an anti-angiogenic bioactive found in chicken dark meat and cheese. Another bacterial product in kimchi is propionic acid, one of the short-chain fatty acids that lowers cholesterol, reduces inflammation, prevents buildup of atherosclerotic plaques in arteries, and improves digestive health. Extract from kimchi have been found to kill cells from colon, bone, and liver cancer, as well as leukemia. The Lactobacillus plantarum growing in kimchi makes a bacterial product that is protective against influenza A.
Researchers from Ajo University in Korea studied 21 middle-aged individuals with pre-diabetes and metabolic syndromes, term used to describe a perfect storm of maladies that set up an individual to develop cardiovascular disease, abdominal obesity, elevated blood lipids, high blood pressures, and elevated blood glucose. Each participant had blood glucose levels below the strict criteria set of diabetes, a higher than normal fasting glucose level between 100 and 125 milligrams per dl on a blood test. The purpose of the study was to determine if kimchi could improve the metabolic status and see if there are differences between fresh versus fermented kimchi.
The participants were divided into two groups. One group ate freshly made kimchi, and the other ate fermented kimchi for 8 weeks. All the kimchi was made in the same factory. The fresh kimchi had 15 million lactobacillus per milliliter of material, while the fermented kimchi contained 6.5 billion bacteria per milliliter, or 433 times more than the fresh. During the experiment, the researchers measured total fat mass, body, body fat percentage, and blood pressure of the participants, and they ran blood tests to check for inflammations and determine glucose levels. After 8 weeks, the researchers asked the participants not to eat any fermented food for 4 more weeks in order to wash out their systems.
Across the board, fermented kimchi, which had more bacteria, had a greater effect than fresh kimchi. Eating fermented kimchi significantly lowered body fat mass by 6% compared to 3.9% for fresh kimchi, meaning the fat loss was 1.6 times better. The fermented kimchi eating groups also had a 2% decrease in body fat percentage, while there was no significant change in fresh kimchi group. The group eating fermented kimchi also experienced a significant lowering of their blood pressure.
The participants also underwent an oral glucose tolerance test to see how efficiently their body processed glucose after eating kimchi. They were given a drink containing an amount of sugar equivalent for 42 jelly beans. The researchers checked their blood glucose levels before the drink and 2 hours later. The participants eating fermented kimchi had a 33% improvement in their glucose tolerance test compared to their response prior to eating kimchi. The improvement in glucose tolerance was 3.5 times better in the group eating fermented kimchi versus the group eating fresh kimchi. So while eating any kind of kimchi has benefits for body fat, blood pressure, and glucose sensitivity, fermented kimchi had greater benefits than fresh.
Another study by Dongguk University in Korea examines 24 women classified as overweight with their BMI greater than 25. It was given 1.2 cups of fresh or fermented kimchi to eat daily for 8 weeks. The measurements related to obesity, blood biomarkers, and fecal microbiome. Similar to the Edgeoy University study, there was significant improvement in the groups that ate fermented kimchi, including a 5% decrease in body fat.
A word of caution, kimchi is very high in salt. Be careful eating it if you have hypertension or are at high risk for stomach cancer. Pao chai, Chinese fermented cabbage. Pao chai, pronounced pao chai, in a traditional fermented vegetable dish in China that is often found in Chinese restaurants as a cold appetizer. Like kimchi, pao chai is prepared by picking healthy vegetables, cabbage, radish, mustard, green stems, carrots, and ginger. The bacteria evolve in pao chai fermentation are many of the same ones in the healthy human microbiome. These include Firmicutes and Lactobacillus, which are the dominant species in the pickle. A scientific study conducted by Shanxi Normal University in China found as many as 30 different bacteria species, making pao chai a rich probiotic food. The cabbage in Pao Chai is also a source of dietary fiber, and 1 cup contributes to 9% of the daily recommended fiber intake. In China, these pickled vegetables are often eaten as a condiment with rice.
Cheese. When it comes to the microbiome, cheese is good for the gut. Cheese is made with milk, an enzyme called ring, rennet, and a starter culture. The starter is composed of different types of bacteria, depending on the type of cheese being made. These bacteria create lactic acid and together with the enzymes convert the milk to curds and whey, which then undergo various steps to generate the unique flavors and textures of traditional and commercial cheeses.
Each cheese has its own microbiome, which is the result of its starter culture and is established by the region where the cheese is made and the environment where the cheese matures. Think cheese cave. Over the course of weeks, months, or even years that a cheese ages, many organisms ranging from bacteria to mold and yeast settle on and invade the cheese, contributing to its flavor and its own cheese microbiome. When we eat cheese, we are ingesting live bacteria as well as the products made by the bacteria, both of which can benefit our health.
Parmigiano Reggiano is a delicious traditional hard cheese from Parma, Italy, made in the shape of giant discs that are aged for 1 to 2 years before being sold and eaten. Although diverse bacteria are present during the first few months of cheese making, the acidity changes as the cheese matures, and many bacteria disappear by the time the cheese is ready for market. Among the surviving bacteria are Lactobacillus casei and Lactobacillus rhamnosus. Both have been observed to have beneficial activities against gastroenteritis, diabetes, cancer, obesity, and even postpartum depression. Parmigiano Reggiano is a natural source of probiotic bacteria.
Gouda cheese, made from cow's milk, is another cheese that has been studied for its probiotic properties. Recall from chapter 6 that Gouda contains vitamin K2, methaquinone, which has anti-angiogenic activity. It also has diverse microbiome of more than 20 species, including Lactobacillus plantarum and Lactobacillus casei, whose populations change while the cheese is aging. Gouda found in Europe is made from raw milk, but it is a pasteurized product in the United States. Research from Ghent University and the Institute for Agriculture and Fishery in Belgium showed that Gouda made with raw milk has greater diversity of bacteria, a beneficial trait, than pasteurized cheeses. While cheeses made from raw milk are priced in their countries of origin, in the United States, the Food and Drug Administration mandates that milk products must be pasteurized in the package of their final form. This federal protection aimed at food safety emerged in 1949 after outbreaks of disease associated with consuming raw milk cheese, and in 1987, the FDA prohibited all raw milk product sales. Although a few cheeses aged more than 60 days may be exempt from this regulation, it means that cheeses available in the United States will not have the full microbiome portfolio of the same type of cheese from Europe.
Recall from the experiments described in Chapter 3 that Camembert cheese contributes to a healthy gut microbiome. Camembert also has a prebiotic effect, which influences levels of bacteria in the gut that aren't part of the cheese-making starter culture. A clinical study from the French National Institute for Agricultural Research showed that people who eat Camembert cheese have increased numbers of gut bacteria called Enterococcus faeciums. This bacteria is not present in the cheese, but the prebiotic effects of the cheese fuels the growth of these natural gut bacteria.
So we can see cheese is a food containing its own microbiome that influences the human gut microbiome through both pre and probiotic effects. Cheese bacteria survive digestive enzymes. They make their way through the entire digestive system and can be found in the stool of cheese eaters. Keeping in mind the qualifying warnings about its salt and saturated fat contained, add to the health influence of cheese its ability to contribute to the human microbiome.
Yogurt. Yogurt is made from milk that is heated cold and then mixed with bacteria for fermentation. This is an ancient food dating back at least 5,000 years, and its health benefits were described in the writings of ancient Greek. Natural yogurts came into existence when milk was accidentally contaminated by bacteria, and the resulting product was discovered to be edible, but the actual presence of a bacterial, Lactobacillus, was not known until it was discovered by a Bulgarian medical student studying the microbiology of local yogurts. Later, a Nobel laureate, Ilya Machikov, observed the longevity of Bulgarian peasants and attributed this to their eating yogurt, which was a staple food. Today, yogurt in its pure form, without added sweeteners, is considered a healthy food, and its benefit may be due its probiotic benefits.
Researchers from Youngstown State University in Ohio conducted a small study of 6 healthy volunteers who were given 1 cup of yogurt to consume about the same amount commonly ingested in yogurt loving Europe and Australia for 42 consecutive days. The yogurt was provided every 3 to 4 days throughout the 6 weeks study. Each dose contained approximately 1 billion bacteria. Subjects were asked to provide fecal samples every 7 days for a total of 7 samples over the course of the study. The researchers found an overall increase in different health-promoting lactobacillus species after yogurt consumption. The bacterial changes were highly variable among individuals. A different study even showed that the microbiome's response to yogurt varies between men and women. But the Youngstown study did detect increases in Lactobacillus reuteri, Lactobacillus casei, and Lactobacillus rhamnosus, which are often found in commercial probiotics, showing that eating yogurt can influence the gut microbiome.
A much larger study of yogurts was conducted in Spain as part of the PREDIMET study of the Mediterranean diet. Researchers studied 7,168 participants and examined their consumption of yogurt along with their consumption of lignans. Lignans are plant polyphenols that are metabolized by gut bacteria into the bioactive enterodiols and enterolactones, which lower the risk of heart disease. The source of lignans in the diets of these participants was mostly from olive oil, wheat products, tomatoes, red wine, and asparagus. The PREDIMET researchers were interested in seeing if eating lignans and yogurt would feed the bacteria present in yogurts and lead to a greater health benefits.
The results show that those who consumed the most lignans had lower blood glucose levels, and that participants who ate high levels of both lignan and yogurt had lower level of total blood cholesterol, including reduced levels of harmful LDL cholesterol. The lactobacillus found in yogurt can increase the elimination of cholesterol from the body. So the researchers speculate that the lignans have a prebiotic effect and feed gut bacteria. At the same time, yogurt has a probiotic effect, supplying the bacteria itself. Eating yogurt along with a plant-based diet rich in lignans can offer protective benefits against cardiovascular disease and better blood glucose control.
Sourdough, sourdough bread. Bread is a staple food worldwide, and archaeologists have discovered that early humans were baking it as long as 14,000 years ago, before the dawn of agriculture, making it a bona fide paleo food, made only with flour and water and leavens with yeast or bacteria. Bread can be baked, steamed, or fried. Traditional sourdough bread is made with a starter containing lactobacillus bacteria. Lactobacillus make lactic acid, which gives sourdough its classic, mildly sour taste. Sourdough starters, along with the original bacteria, are passed on in traditional bread making from generation to generation through a process called back sloping. To do this, small pieces of bacteria, like those, are pinched off and reserved from each time the bread is made and saved to make the next batch.
One type of sourdough bacteria, Lactobacillus reuteri, has remarkable health functions. It has been shown to improve immunity and suppress tumor development. L. reuteri also reduces weight gain and can speed wound healing. The bacteria also activates the gut-brain axis by stimulating the brain the brain to release the social hormone oxytocin.
Scientists at the University of Alberta in Canada, working with colleges from Huazhou Agricultural University and Hubei University of Technology in China, studied this material in commercial sourdough bread starter. They found that one strand of L-reuteri in a sourdough starter that had been handed down from one baker to another since 1970 had actually evolved to live and thrive in bread doughs. To dominate in their new curve, some L-reuteri strands in the starter actually developed the ability to produce a natural antibiotic called Resinase that kills other harmful bacteria growing around it, while the bacteria itself does not survive the high oven temperatures used for baking. Scientists from Massachusetts Institute of Technology have shown that the benefits may not require live bacteria at all when it comes to L-reuteri. In the lab, scientists completely pulverize the bacteria so no live L-reuteri survive. But they found that substances coming from the particles of that bacteria could create the same benefits as a live bacteria. This is a complete surprise because it's always been assumed that the benefits of gut bacteria require them to be alive. Discoveries like this show us how much there is to learn about the microbiome and our health. So even when L-reuteri in sourdough breads is cooling in a hot oven, the bacterial fragments that remain in the finished bread may still be able to offer health benefits when consumed.
Yep. So Eric, how about we stop here?
Okay. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So talk about what we read today. Yep. Today's part is mostly about microbiome, which is the bacteria. And yeah, for here, I think they mentioned a few types of foods that contain bacteria. And what I get here is actually quite limited. Other than those food mentioned, I think I learned about something like prebiotic, probiotic. Yeah, prebiotic is the can be considered as the food source of the beneficial bacteria, and probiotic is the beneficial bacteria. And yeah, different food can serve prebiotic or probiotic or both. Yeah, and then microbiome also contribute to our health. Yep, and actually it is also kind of like too complicated. Yeah. Um, Also, even like you try to eat specific foods, for example, cheese or kimchi. I haven't tried, but I also uh, wonder, yeah, the impact or maybe uh, the feeling after eating, for example, like a few weeks. Yeah, I wonder whether we can even feel it. Yeah, and yeah, so this is I think the part today. Yep.
And uh, the first thing to continue the what I saw in last week's sessions And it is in the line 1075. And then in this line, it actually the author say that we are just beginning to learn how our microbiomes help our body resist diseases ranging from inflammatory bowel disease, depression, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and even Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. Yeah, so even though we spend years or decades in studying the microbiome, but we still have a lot of unknowns. And also the last line we have read, which talk about that bacteria can have the same benefit as the live bacteria.
Quite surprisingly.
Yeah. And but here in the line 1075, so I'm actually not sure because in this line it also say that a well-cared for community of gut bacteria will affect your ability to resist diseases like cancer and diabetes, influence your ability to heal wounds, and instruct your brains to release chemicals that make you more social. I fully understand it, and I also know microbiome is very important. Is very powerful, but I also have read some other study and also read some people sharing, which especially for the like Peterson, and the Peterson has the depression and also has the gum disease, and gum disease related to gut. Yeah, and it is related to microbiomes. And when he changed his diet to the kind of diet, his depression cured, and his gums disease disappeared. Yeah, have been healed.
Yeah.
And so, how can diet affect the microbiomes? And if kind of diet can kind of like alleviate or reduce the symptoms of the type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes, or like reduce the metabolic symptoms, what microbiomes play the role in this diet, and also as well as the ketogenic diet. And if obesity is a leading factor, is a man's like called the markers for all kind of non-communicated disease, such as cardiovascular disease or others. And what if the ketogenic diet can help you cut the weight? And then how about the overall effect to your body? And how it's related to microbiome? And also I found that a lot of foods were we have learned today. For example, kimchi, yogurts, pao chai is highly fermented, and also it also could be highly processed. But some of the processing is like not through the industrializations, not through the factories. Is we add in a lot of salt, we add in a lot of soy sauce, we add in a lot of some of the flavor into it, including sugar. And so what's the overall effect to our health? And when the author talk about the kimchi, at the end of the part of the kimchi, author also say that be careful to eat too much kimchi because it contains high salt. And yogurt also, yogurt say without added sweeteners, yogurt will like improve the oral health. But how about if we added sweeteners? Would it still improve our overall health? Yeah. You can go back to read the sentence. This is exactly what I say. There's a bracket. Yeah, eating the yogurt bracket like without added sweeteners can improve the overall health. So does it mean that with added sweeteners it cannot improve our overall health? It has like neutral benefit, neutral effect on our health. So what is the trade-off? And when we want to eat kimchi, when we want to eat pao chai, what is the trade-off? How about at the same time we increase the microbiome in our guts, but it's like maybe reduce the stem cell level or reduce the angiogenesis level. So what's the trade-off here? And every time we kind of like focus one things in each chapter, and I wonder maybe in the remaining chapter we will also maybe we'll come across a few chapter which is talk about the trade-off and how to choose the food, how to maybe choose the volume between the foods, between the varieties, and give us the overall health. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Your voice is quite soft. Hello.
Yeah. Okay. How about now?
Yeah.
I say I hope so. Because like putting all together the 5 defense system, we actually want something which is the kind of like the optimal in the trade-off, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And a lot of food like yogurt and
Maybe pao chai,
many of them are actually
how to say, they are marketed, and then they are commercialized. Yep. And we wonder whether, like I said, it actually give a overall better benefit to us. For example, yogurt. Some yogurts they taste so well. When you eat that, and then you feel like, oh, this is delicious. Most of the yogurt that I ate is also quite sweet. Yep. So and also you can see the color. For example, you choose a mangoes one, you can see it is yellow color. You choose the strawberry one, you see the pink color. Yep. And it is really sweet. And also yogurt need to be stored in the fridge, right? And I also wonder, like because before in the past I bought yogurt. Sometimes I bought a bigger one, a bigger package, and then I couldn't consume one time. So I kind of like take out a portion of it, maybe eat it in a week, something like that. And I wonder the way that we store the yogurt will also affect the quality, and many of the things can affect what is called the real yogurt, which is beneficial to us.
And do you know how to read the nutrition fact, which is behind of the package? There's a label.
Oh, something like fiber, total sugar, something like that, right?
Yeah, carbohydrate, proteins, fat. And if you try to see the carbohydrate sections, and you'll find that under the carbohydrate section, there definitely will have a subsection which is called sugar. And if you try to calculate how much you eat, how much the sugar you consume, you intake per maybe 100 grams, or maybe 100 ml. Yeah, and then you try to see every 100 ml how much sugar I consume from this yogurt, or every 100 gram I consume from this yogurt.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
and also about the yogurts, do you know there's something like the yogurt which is like the drink, which is not the kind of like a little bit solid, a solid in forms. Yeah, so the yogurt drink is very expensive and it's very popular, started from a few years ago. And initially people drink Vitagens. Yeah, Vitagen or Vitagens. And this is totally a highly marketed drink, and this is just a water plus sweet, and it didn't contain any like the microbiome. I mean the healthy microbiomes. And yeah, and but we have another the kind of like yogurt, which they say it contains the microbiome. It contains like the good bacteria, but it also contains a lot of sugar. If you try to look the nutrition fact, and actually for the real yogurts which don't add the sugar is very, very sour. And I wonder really if people able to consume it in a significant quantity without having bad feelings.
Yeah, it doesn't. It may not taste well, right?
Yeah, and yeah, so that's because they are company, they want to sell the product, and they have to make the food or the drinks tasty.
Yeah.
They will highlight the benefits of the drinks. For example, they will highlight, oh, this is high fiber. Brown rice or
50% less sugar. They like to do that.
Or maybe like some milk. They highlight low cholesterol, low sugar, high calcium. But what is high calcium? Yeah, high calcium, but got some bad thing inside. And what if like you got trillion of good bacteria? What if inside the overall effect to your body is not good? Or maybe it's just neutral because you contain too much sugar. So there are still a lot of unknowns here.
Yeah, really. Yeah. And it reminds me of there are a few products, especially beverages. They say it is like 0 sugar. Yep. And once you drink it and you find that, wow, that is also sweet. Yeah, they actually use something like artificial sugar. Yeah, and it is also not good. And yeah, they can kind of like how to say yeah, I suddenly forgot the word, which is like yeah, they can play with this. Yeah, they reduce sugar and then they can retain the taste, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I after reading the book It to Beat Disease, even though I don't really understand the nutrition fact behind the product's package, and yeah, but actually it did kind of like give me the awareness to look at it. Yeah, and I even found that foods, for example, like honey. Yeah, honey actually is also has the carbohydrates, right?
because of actually all sugar is carbohydrate. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is quite interesting, and I think maybe I need to do more research about nutrition fact, and then so that next time maybe I am more sensitive to the figure behind it. But because right now even I know, okay, this is sugar, this is fat. They tell me how many gram per serve or per 100 grams. For example, I actually don't have an idea whether this is a lot or this is neutral or this is less or what. Yeah, so I think I need more learning for here.
Yeah.
Yep, and anything else to talk about?
But even though you learned it, and then you know, okay, okay, we shouldn't eat too much sugar, but how much? How much is the volume? 20 gram, 30 gram, 40 gram? And have you noticed the scientists and or maybe the Institute of the Health keep adjusting the figure, keep adjusting the daily intake? For example, they adjust, like you can reduce the proteins intake maybe from like 50 grams to 45 grams, and you can increase the vegetable portion, or you can increase the carbohydrate portion. Yeah, and they keep adjusting the number. And even though you have learned it, then what is the guidance? How do you know how much is really a lot? How much sugar is really a lot? Even though you know the impact of the sugar to your body, but how much? How much is a lot?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so many variables here. So it links back to something I always say. You, at the end, you study so much thing. At the end, you still need to come back and listen what your body tell you. But it doesn't mean that you just need to listen to what the body tells you. Yeah. It's kind of like there's a three stages. The first stage, you may just listen to your body, and then but you don't have any knowledge, and you may choose brown rice, you may choose a lot of rice, and then you couldn't feel any significant difference. You can try some other thing, and then it may let you feel good, but in the short terms, after some time, the effect just went away. And then will you still continue to eat the food, or you try others? So it confuses you, and then you start to learn more, and then you equip yourself with the knowledge, with the nutrition science, and with the critical thinking. And but after they found that there's so many conflict here, there's so many unknowns here, we couldn't really isolate to see what is the result, what is the effect, what is the impact to our body. And let's say what if a food provide you the best health? Let's say the plant-based food you eat. This is just an example. Okay, this is just an example. Let's say you eat a plant-based foods. Okay, yeah, and the science proved that, really proved that plant-based foods really contribute the best health, the best overall health improvement to human body. But the case is, if you eat the plant-based food, you lack of energy, you don't do exercise, and it may affect your mental, it may affect your physical health because lack of exercise, or maybe high stress because you keep eating the food you don't like. Stress played a role here. Or maybe you spend more time in cooking, because for plant-based food you really need to spend a lot of time in cooking. Yeah, and you need to prepare the foods. And how about the price? Actually, plant-based, if you want to eat plant-based food, it is more expensive than the meat-based foods, because in terms of calorie, in terms of let you full, in terms of giving you enough macronutrients. Yeah. You can eat 1 kg vegetable, but you couldn't be full, and you will feel sick because you eat too much of that thing. But you can eat 1 kg of meat and feel good, because it gives you the protein, the fat, and it supports your daily calories requirements. Vegetable don't give you that, because vegetable have only very, very little calories. Yeah, and most of the calories come from the carbohydrate. So what's the trade-off here? Yeah, even though if we just look at inside what's a diet, it is so confusing already. How about if we zoom out? If plant-based food affect your mental health, if plant-based food affect your energy level to do exercise, to do other things, yeah, it is even more complicated. So even though, let's say, for example, even plant-based food can give you the best health, or even meat-based food can give you the best health, but does it mean that you should do that? If it reduces the energy level of you, if let's say it reduces the quality of life you have, it reduces the overall happiness of yours. Yeah. Or maybe, like, for example, the fasting. You can say fasting is very powerful. But we need to find a point. And maybe some people overfast. Yeah. They overfast, and then the benefits and the effect is not significant, or even like there's a negative impact to their bodies. So how to find a point, and how to find the optimal level, like you said just now, it is so difficult.
And suddenly I recall one of the experience that one of my friend told me last week. He said he told me about his experience of becoming vegetarian. In last year and the year before, 2 years. And he told me that at first it is like quite okay, because everything is fresh. He has never tried to become a vegetarian, and after he did that, and he told me that after a few months, actually he find a few problems. The first one is like he feel himself is in a suboptimal health condition. And he can realize that he has the hair loss problem. And that could be something like the lack of vitamin or lack of nutrition, specific nutrition. And after that he tried to intake some vitamin. Some vitamin which is like suitable for vegetarian.
Is it the supplements?
Yes, supplements. Supplements. And he said after trying the supplements, the effect isn't significant. It seems like feel nothing, and still the problem is still there. And one other problem is he find no appetite for every meal after a few months. It is not like he feel okay and don't have the that.
It's not like he's full. He don't need to eat, and he need to eat, but he don't like the food he's eat. Is it something like that?
Yeah. He has to fill his stomach. He feel hungry, but when he look at the food, he feel like, wow, the vegetables again, this kind of food again. This kind of feeling actually is the biggest contribution to him, the biggest attribution to him for quitting vegetarian, veggie diet, and now he became like
Eat a normal diet.
Normal diet. Yeah, this is what he shared with me.
Yeah, and
so that is a big problem, right? The food which is like difficult, or maybe you just don't like it and you have to do that every day, every meal.
Yeah, and how it affects your mental health. How to isolate the situation and study the impact to our health. So difficult, even impossible.
Yeah.
And just one question is, just now you say your friends does he eat totally plant-based foods? I mean, do he eat like the rice, the grains? Do he eat like the processed, artificial or the fake meat, vegetarian meat?
Yeah, I think he did, because he do that for religion purpose. Yeah, so he can go to the veggie restaurant, something like that. They offer those kind of food you mentioned.
Yeah, and this is also another problem because we still don't know whether high carbohydrate is good for body or not. Yeah, and you look at some statistic, and also you look at what you see around you, around the world, around you. People getting fatter and fatter, and it's highly correlated to the fast food restaurant newly opened in your locations, something like that. Or maybe like the people eat more processed foods, the people eat more maybe sugar, drink more soft drink, and they become fat. And but if you ask all of them, they will say they're conscious about their fat intake, right? All people think that they cannot eat too much fat because they think the fat inside the fat they consume comes into their body directly turns to the fat. I know because I also felt the same in the past. I thought the fat, I eat the fat and then the fat just like it's kind of like for example, I eat a chewing gum, and chewing gum cannot be digested in our stomach. Okay, then and let's say it's kind of like a very big chewing gum, and then you eat it, and then it comes into your blood and then block your blood vessel. Yeah, many people think the fat is like this, including me. To be honest, I really think in this way in past. Yeah. So yeah, many things to learn in nutrition, and many things to think. Many things to think in nutrition also. Yeah. So anything more to add in?
No, for today.
Okay, so talk to you tomorrow.
Talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye, Eric.
Goodbye.